Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today I am joined by one of Bachelor Nation's most loved and well-known personalities, Joe. Oh my God, Joe, I was just thinking about this on my way here. I meant to ask you this before. I'm going to take a shot at this. And I've known Joe for now 5 years. And if it was any other guest but Joe, I'd be mortified right now, but I'm not. But it's either Amabile or Amabile. Amabile, like Monopoly, but Amabile.
Like Monopoly, but not.
Amabile. Joe Amabile. I've known him for 5 years. We're good buddies. Grocery Store Joe is what he's known as. Joe is a former grocery store owner from Chicago, if you guys remember, but he was unexpectedly became the major fan favorite after he was just eliminated night one. I'll never forget where I was that night, and I'll tell you about that. Joe eventually went on to participate in Bachelor in Paradise twice, where he met his now fiancé, Serena Pitt, and Dancing with the Stars. After his string of reality TV appearances, Joe has recently taken a step back from reality TV limelight. However, he still remains very busy co-hosting Clickbait, a podcast focused around Bachelor Nation, and running his own food blog and pasta sauce brand under the name Sundays with Joe. We got some here. I've had it. It's unbelievable. We're going to discuss the unique and unexpected path that Joe took to get where he is today, and how he's been able to capitalize financially on his rise to fame without sacrificing his core roots based around good food and produce. Joe, thank you so much for being with us today.
Wow, well done.
You like that intro?
I'm flattered. I'm flattered and impressed.
Other than the last name screw up, I'm pretty happy with that one.
Very good.
All right, first thing I got to kick off with, Grocery Store Joe. Are you sick of the name? Do you hope people never call you it again? Do you own it? What's your take on the name?
I own it. I would say
Okay.
the name really, I was able to capitalize off the name, and the name has kept me somewhat relevant.
Okay.
Like throughout Bachelor Nation, like people know
Grocery Store Joe.
Grocery Store Joe, yeah.
They know of it. Like if you're walking down the street or someone comes up to you, will they say that's the grocery guy, or do they call you Joe now?
Joe from The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Joe.
Okay.
But Grocery Store Joe, yeah, I would say a lot.
I love it. I remember the first night when our season came out, and I was watching it with Colton, and we were like trying to analyze everything and what's going to happen and how's this all going to air. And out of nowhere, like the internet just stopped, and it wasn't Becca's season anymore. It wasn't anything about Colton, certainly not about me. It was Grocery Store Joe everywhere. You were trending. You were the number one thing. Everyone's talking about it. What was it like that first night, knowing that when the show aired, you were eliminated, but to see just everyone gravitate towards just like you, your story, and you as a person? Like, what was that like?
It was shocking for sure, and exciting. The thing was, I'm obviously shocking. I was not expecting it. You go home night one, and I remember going home and talking to like my cousin, who was a huge fan of the show, and like my mom, and they were basically like, yeah, if you went home night one, nobody's really going to remember you. And we were watching the show, and I remember prepping my friends, being like, this is going to be so bad. It's going to be very embarrassing. And my brother was like, no, like, you're like starting to trend on Twitter. And ever since then, like my TV experience has been pretty good to me.
Was there like one tweet or what? Because there were a bunch of celebrities I remember. Like Colt and I were going back and forth, like, oh my God, she's talking about Grocery Store Joe, and he's talking about. Was there like one celebrity or one big person that tweeted that night that you're like, holy shit, there might be something here? Like something might be happening.
I didn't have Twitter at the time.
Got it.
So I didn't see any of it.
Did you have any social media before the show?
No, not before the show.
Okay.
So once I got home, one of the producers suggested that I get Instagram.
And you had no idea how to do it or work it.
I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, you download the app, you throw photos up.
Yeah, but now it's so complicated.
Yeah.
And I just think that the crazy thing is you've built such an unbelievable platform using it. All right, so I'm stepping into the grocery store stuff because I want to actually get into the store that you own. So they do the clip on the first season, they do your what do they call it? The hometown package, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And they show you at the grocery store. And I'll never forget night one. I think maybe it was like after the show aired, you had told me, one of the producers told you, like, your package was great. You're doing, like, we think there's big things here. Just don't screw up that intro when you come out of the limo. And you totally, completely screwed it up. But there's something about, and I want to bring this back to business, because there's something about your relatability in the fact that, like, first impressions are so important, but you were so real and authentic with the fact, like, I fucked it up, that, like, it gravitated to people. And so I want to tie this back to, like, interviewing and making first impressions. You had a huge stage with a lot of pressure, and everyone wanted you to make it perfect. It didn't go perfect, but it worked out. So what advice do you have for someone out there that, like, gets nervous in those situations, or they're in an interview and they have to make that first impression and it doesn't go as planned?
Yeah, you have to. For me, you know, I had really, really bad stage fright, and I remember before going on the show watching night ones, because I knew that was going to be my biggest issue. I knew it. Like, I get anxiety. Like, this is probably not going to go well.
Did you tell them that, like, producers? Or
No.
Like,
I was like, I just want to go out there and do. I didn't want like a shtick. I just wanted to go out there and just be me.
Sure.
And yeah, my suggestion would be this: lean into it and get ready to be uncomfortable and fail, and that's okay, because that's the only way you're going to get better. Like, the only way I've gotten better at, you know, podcasting and being in the public is just from repetition and doing it and really just learning from my mistakes. Yeah. And that's how I get comfortable in the situation now.
Yeah, I like that. But one of the other things you do too that's so different than me is because we've had the pleasure of doing, you know, stuff on stage and interviews together and all this stuff. And you don't want to be prepared at all. It's crazy. Like, so suppose, for you guys listening, suppose Joe and I are going to do an interview. I'm making this up, but let's say it's with People magazine, right? And we're talking on The Bachelor. I would want every question you're going to ask. I want to think through it. I want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to get caught off guard. Where your take is like, I don't want to know anything. Just shoot it at me and you'll get my perspective. Why is that?
I'm an overthinker. So if I get the questions and I prepare, I don't want to get in my head and, yeah, I overthink. I'm better just
off the cuff.
I
love it.
Improv. Let's go.
Improv. All right. So at home, find out what you're good at, stick to it, own it. The reason I wanted to get into the Bachelor story is because Grocery Store Joe is your identity from the show. And we did some research. We found, I'm going to show this to the cameras. We found, because we do research here, like, just like I said, this is Joe's grocery store. It is called Eric's Food Market. It looks a little weathered.
Well, yeah. I mean, we actually remodeled
it. Looks like it's got great character. So when they filmed that show, when they filmed your hometown package, was that hometown package actually in this store?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And tell me about how you got into the grocery business, what your story was with this store. Like, what is the background behind Joe and Eric's Food Center?
Yeah. So Eric is one of my really close friends.
Yeah.
He's Eric's Food.
He's the Eric.
Yeah. He was the owner.
Okay.
Owned another store in Atlanta that he still has that does really well. We sold that store. So basically, I was in the produce industry. I was wholesaling to all different grocery stores across the Midwest, but would have, like, you know, you get like Whole Foods orders. Yep. And stores like Jewel and Mariano's and just bigger chains, Kroger's.
Yeah.
I was doing that for a little under 3 years, and the company I was with was going to go under.
Okay.
So I could have went somewhere else, but I wanted to learn the grocery end of things because I felt like if I'm going to stay in this industry, I want to eventually be my own boss and own something.
Sure.
So I was talking to my friend Eric. He's like, why don't you come into this store for a percentage?
Okay.
So I'm like, you know what? This seems to be the perfect time. Let's do it. Very quickly did I realize I do not like the grocery business. It's very meticulous. It's long hours. Yeah. And it's repetitive, and it's the same thing every day. It's a grind. And the store was just, it was above water, but it wasn't in the greatest neighborhoods. Okay. And it was just rough. So we started looking for a buyer.
Okay.
And sold it. In the interim, I got casted to go on The Bachelorette.
Sure.
And they came and filmed my package there, but I think I had told them, like, the store's actually sold. Like, we're going to be out of here in, I think it was like a month.
Okay. So when you did that package, you didn't even own the store still anymore.
No, but I was still buying. So I flipped from being a seller to a buyer, and I was buying for his other store in Atlanta and buying for a few others. Got it.
Okay, so far out there, you've heard underwater, you've heard wholesale. If you start to get confused by any of the business terms, because we're hitting on a bunch of stuff today, stay tuned to the recap. That's the Curious Canadian's job. We will define those things. For this store, when you got your equity, how much money did you have to put up front?
I honestly, I don't.
Like, did he require a dollar amount or no? Or was
yeah, it was more. There was something, but it was more sweat equity as well.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then when you sold it, did you recoup the money that you had to put into it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, like 1 time, 2 times, 3 times.
Just a long term. We have like a long term deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So financially, did owning the grocery store and selling the grocery store change much for your financial, like, portfolio? Like, if you look at, like, Joe's life, was that like a life changer, or was that like it moved the needle a little bit?
Yeah, well, I would say it wasn't a life changer, but it was definitely it definitely helped me grow as a businessman and learn a lot about that industry.
Gotcha. If anyone ever thinks that they want to start a grocery store, open a boutique one, or wholesale produce, what advice would you have to get into it, and would you recommend it?
Just you have to live there.
It's 24/7.
Work. It's all day, every day, and as time goes on, it gets easier and you learn it. But something like I treasure from just having the grocery store was, if I did want to open up a restaurant now, I know a lot about the business. I know the back end. I know, like, somebody's got to order the napkins. Yeah. I know you got to pay attention to quantity and what you're ordering and the deals you get. So, like, yeah, like I could do it. Like, if I needed to open up a restaurant, which is something I was considering for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I could open up one and be successful.
Okay, I got 2 questions. One is for the consumer when you walk into a grocery store, and one is if you want to own a grocery store. If I wanted to own a grocery store and operate it in, like, an area like this, and it was similar size to yours, or just like a smaller boutique, what do you think, estimating on an annual basis, you can make as, like, a grocery store owner? One store, smaller boutique type store.
In New York?
In New York or Chicago.
Let's do Chicago.
Let's do
the
Chicago.
New York market.
You know that market.
I have no idea. I mean, it's still all about location. The problem is with the smaller grocery stores, and this is what I realized being in it for the short amount of time I was in it.
Yeah.
It's very hard to compete with the big dogs. It used to be where the smaller boutique neighborhood stores were the cheaper ones.
Yep.
It's not like that anymore because the big stores buy in bulk, so they get deals. Mm-hmm. So if I'm selling to Whole Foods, for example, I'm going to give them a much better deal because they're going to buy truckloads of watermelons opposed to the little guy who's going to buy 10 boxes.
Gotcha.
So that's where it's extremely difficult. So if you were going to open a small store,
yep,
I would suggest you have a great hot foods area.
Okay.
Because there's
the meals to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of profit in that. Okay. And then you eliminate your waste.
Got it.
As far as produce, I would suggest
interesting.
Having a very
Wait a second. So the produce, I never thought about that. The produce that's probably about to go bad is the produce they'll likely use to cook for, like, hot meals and stuff.
Correct.
Gosh, it makes sense.
It's still good. It's still good, but
you're not throwing it out.
Yeah,
okay.
and you don't want to buy it and then leave it in your house because in a week it is going to go bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, where were we? I lost my
Just like dollar, like high level.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's where you'd make the food. You the hot food area, but like how much? Give me a number that you estimate someone could make if they open a store, like net income.
Great walking traffic, good hot foods area, solid produce. $250.
$250. Okay, that's a good one. Now I'm curious. Someone walks into a grocery store. Where are people like myself or you guys listening at home? Where are we getting taken advantage of the most? Like, where is the most profit going back to the store? And I also can't stand with stores, and I think this is strategic. You would know this. Like Kroger, they put the milk, the eggs, everything I need just for a quick hit. It is in the back corner of the store, so I got to walk through everything and come back, and then I pick up another $100 of food. That's all planned, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, where is as a consumer? What is like? Hey, just so you know, when you buy this at a store, they're probably making the highest margins.
Well, they make their highest margins in the hot foods area, hot foods and produce. But you're not necessarily getting taken advantage of, but that's where the highest profit margins are. It's not in the dry goods.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not.
Interesting.
All right. Because like my sauce, for example, we have it here. Profit margin on this is extremely small. But I could sell you a case. I used to sell cantaloupes. That was like one of my biggest movers.
Cantaloupes.
Yeah. In a case of cantaloupe, there's 9 cantaloupes, right?
Okay.
You could very easily buy a case of cantaloupe I could sell it to you for $10.
Okay.
Now you go into the store and cantaloupes are doing $2.99 a cantaloupe.
Sure.
Okay, so 3 times 9.
7. Yeah.
Okay.
17 profit. Yeah.
And then
big numbers.
And then if actually where you're getting taken advantage of is cut fruit.
Oh, when they cut it and prepack it.
Yeah.
So pretty much when it's like $5-10 for the water. To go. So it's all the to-go things.
Yes.
That the margins are being absolutely crushed
Yes.
on. All right, guys, when you're listening right now, all the little things they're doing for you to grab and go, that's why it's always at the front of the store. Too.
Yes.
That's where we're getting hit. So take your own watermelon, go cut it yourself, and you're going to save some money. We talked a little bit about Sundays with Joe's Sauce. We're going to get into how he started that, the dollars, and just the whole entire business. So stay tuned for that. But one thing I want to make sure we get to is the fact that you decided after high school, and I think this is something that you don't talk about often, but we've talked about behind the scenes. After high school, you decide to forego college and you become an equities trader at CME Group. So this is something I don't know that many people know about you, Joe, but I find it fascinating. And when Joe and I talk, usually it's like what investments, what trades you making, and that's just something you don't talk about this publicly, your background in this often.
No, not really. I've done about 70% right now. So
you're like, that's why I don't talk about
Don't really want to talk about it because I'm sick.
About to puke right now.
Yeah.
What made you forego college and go full speed in that world?
Okay, so I hated school.
Okay.
Really just wasn't. And I regret it, but I just wasn't a good student.
So like what type of grades we talking?
I don't think I brought a book home throughout high school. And I was still a C student, but like I cheated. Like I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I did not want to be there.
So you did anything to just get by?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm interrupting, but now I'm just very, very curious. Joe in high school. What was Joe in high school like? Like if some of your best friends or buddies had like, what would they say about Joe in high school?
I would say I'm similar to the person that I am today. I was just, I guess like just silly. Like
were you like prom king?
No, I went to an all boy high school.
Oh, I was gonna say all the girls definitely wanted you.
No. I didn't really.
You're shy.
Come into I was shyer with girls for sure.
Did you play sports in high school?
Baseball, football, but quit halfway through.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so. I've never had a guest that I want to know what they're like in high school, but something I wanted to know, Joe. I wanted to know.
Yeah.
All right. So keep going. So were you like a detention suspension guy?
Yeah, but not for being bad, for just like
skipping class,
or I talked a lot, so I was always talking and like turning around and talking and having full blown conversations.
Gotcha. Okay.
When I wasn't supposed to, but nothing like bad. I wasn't like sneak a fifth of Captain Morgan into
like,
class.
I remember in high school, kids would take the Bic pens and they would take out the ink and then put alcohol in those, and they would sell them for like $5 in school. People would be ripping shots in class. That was not you. You were probably the guy selling them, though.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't bad like that. That was a different. That was a different type of kid. That was not me. But what were we talking about?
So school wasn't for you.
No.
You knew that, and then you decided against college and then went into trading.
Yeah.
Tell me about that process.
Okay, so my cousins were successful traders at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the CME Group, which eventually bought out the Board of Trade. That's why it's called the CME Group.
Got it.
But it was the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Chicago Board of Trade. But they were at the Chicago Merc, which was, they had, at the time, definitely busier pits. The NASDAQ pit in 2000, which I was still in high school, was like one of the busiest pits, I would say, in the country.
So you're saying pits right now. A percentage of the people at home might know. A percentage might be like, what the hell are you talking about? Are we back to grocery store talk? Pits? Like, explain what a pit is.
Okay, so that is open outcry pit trading. So it's where locals, traders, and then you have brokers who work for banks and different firms and hedge funds, all trade an index. So I worked in the NASDAQ pit, which was, so you basically are, you're not trading one stock in the NASDAQ, you're trading the NASDAQ as a whole.
Got it.
So you're basically buying low, selling high. You see big orders come in from different banks and you try to front run them.
Okay, so sell on there an index. Give someone an example of an index that you would trade.
The NASDAQ.
Okay.
The NASDAQ index.
So the NASDAQ.
The S&P index.
There you go. So there you go. We'll in the recap, I'll break down exactly what that is. But you're trading that, and this is like the scene in these Wall Street movies where it was back in the day. You're yelling at each other, right? You're like calling each other's number, and you're hand writing the
30,
orders. And those are the
40, 50, 100.
So you're doing the hand signals to make the deal.
Yeah.
That's what. And how old are you when you're doing this?
Young. So okay. So I'll go back. My cousins were successful traders, and they were young. They were in their early 30s. And I see this as a kid in high school, 15 years old. You know, my cousins got a different Mercedes every 3 months, and like, just like living this, like they were going to the south of France for, you know, summers for like a month. And I come from a blue collar family, and like in my neighborhood's blue collar. So really never seen any of this. And I was like, whoa, like, don't worry. Like, you're coming to the Merc when you graduate high school. So I was set. I was like, you tell a 15-year-old kid that, like, that's what I'm doing.
You're in. What do you think they were making at that? Like, when did you ever ask them? You make 100, 200, a million?
My cousin Anthony, who unfortunately passed away of cancer a few years ago, I think he might have made, in like a 10-month period, I would say like $8 million.
$8 million? Yeah.
Guys were making
what?
I was there, like but not then. When I went there, it was still busy. And he ended up, I don't know how he ended up financially.
Sure.
Because you had big losers. Like, I had a day where I had lost in the last 3 minutes of trading. And I basically started with no money, built up my account, would make a lot of money, would blow it. I did that kind of consistently. I was young, didn't really have a value of $1, kind of lost that.
Yeah.
Had zero fear, which made me physically like a good pit trader. I was very quick, but I couldn't handle a loser. Like, I couldn't handle it. So if I lost 3,000, I would turn 3,000 in one day into 25,000. When I started trading at 19.
Okay.
I would say around 20, an average day for me as a trader. And I was bigger than a small trader because I had gotten pretty big. Average day was like around 2,500 to about 5,000.
Okay. Interesting.
And then you have your days where I had a day where I made 30 grand. But for me, my losers always trump my winners. And
what was the best day you had as a trader?
I think the best day, I think I made 27,000.
And the worst day as a trader?
Worst day, I lost 64,000. And if I didn't get out where I got out in the market, that split second, I would have lost, well, like potentially like $1 million. That's how the market was moving, at a rapid pace. And thank God I to this day, I still don't know exactly why I got out, because I was young and stupid.
Was this like the 2007-ish time?
This was
2006.
This was 2007, 2008.
So you did this like in the middle of the shit show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And just because people think like, oh, everybody lost money. No, traders there was people that would make $1 million in a day. Just be in the right way at the right time, and boom.
And this was all your money. You didn't have like people come and fundraise you to do this. You took your dollars, built up the portfolio, and were working all these angles.
I think I saved like 10,000.
Okay.
But the only reason I was able to trade is because my cousin signed the guarantee. Basically saying if Joe loses,
he'd cover your
money. They have to cover it.
Who gave you the 10K? Not a bank.
No, it was my money, the 10,000.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying and then I start with 10,000, open up an account.
Gotcha.
Through a brokerage firm.
To open your account yourself.
To open my account.
Got it. Okay.
Through a brokerage firm, but you would need more money, but because my cousins guaranteed me and were big traders at the time, that was good enough.
Got it. Okay. This form of trading where you guys are doing your signs and stuff in the pit, it no longer exists, right?
It exists, but to a much smaller extent. I believe there are still, I'm pretty sure, like my pit is no longer there, the NASDAQ. I think the S&P might still be there. I believe there's an S&P option pit. I believe there's some option pits that are still up and running.
Okay. We might edit this part out, but I want to just break it down so if someone is confused, they can kind of understand. S&P 500, you do have an ETF, right? That ETF, for anyone listening, will just mirror exactly how the S&P 500 moves. Exactly what were you selling, though? And who was the person you were selling to? Just break down the mechanics of that.
Yeah, okay. And that's the thing, like you're selling and buying futures.
Okay.
And you don't really know.
Okay.
And you don't know who, like other traders are buying, you don't know their positions. But really what you're doing is you're just buying and selling a number.
Got it.
And if you buy the market when it's at 1945 and you sell it at 1946, one contract in the NASDAQ was worth $100. So you just make $100. So that's essentially what you're doing. So, and yeah, it's hard to explain. I'm not the best at explaining it either. It's like one of those things where you kind of have to do it. But so let's say at the price of 1949, Morgan Stanley has to sell 1,000 contracts in the NASDAQ pit.
Yep.
The market would potentially hold that 49 price. So as a trader in the pit, knowing that, the goal would be to sell in front of the 49 price.
Got it.
Because the market will potentially, most likely the first time, not go through it.
Right.
So you short it in front of the price.
Got it.
To then buy a few points lower.
Got it.
And then what you could do is you lean on the big order, where if it goes through the big order, you buy some of that. You flip your position, you go long, and then you sell the longs at a higher price.
Got it. I cannot believe that grocery store Joe, the guy who's got his brand image of slinging watermelons and cantaloupes, has this type of complexity, making 70 grand, lose 70 grand a day at the age of 19. It's wild. I want to give the most basic. So if people didn't follow that, I'm with you on that. But if people didn't follow that, tell me if you think this is a decent example that's like bare bones 101. You look at your gas price right now, right? So you know that gas prices today, let's say it's $4 a gallon. and there is a future of $3 a gallon, you could lock up that contract and buy gas at $3 a gallon, not knowing what's going to happen. Gas might go down to $1 a gallon, but you still own it for $3. If you're buying a future contract based on what you think could happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and you have that's bare bones. And by doing that, the odds are in your favor. You're buying it at 3 and the market's at 4.
Sure, exactly.
So if you want to buy the 3s and you want to dump it at 4, there you go.
You're just made money. You just made it. Or you can hold it.
Or you
can
hold
up to 6 and then you just made 3x or whatever
Correct.
it is. Okay. All right. So I could talk about the day trading stuff all day. I want to just end with this because I think people might hear this, get interest. Maybe they want to do it. Maybe they don't. Day in the life of a day trader when you were doing it. What was the day in the life like? Like when did you wake up? When did you go to sleep? How long were you working?
Yeah. So the NASDAQ pit opened up. Different pits, like the Euro dollars opened up at 7:20 in Chicago, 7:20 a.m. The NASDAQ pit opened up at 8:30. I would take the train into work, so I'd wake up. I would wake up around 7 a.m. I wasn't a coffee drinker because I was a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
And take the train, get into work. I didn't do enough research, which I should have, and that's my biggest regret today.
Okay.
And I kind of just went in there and was like, all right, I'm gonna sling away. Let's go. It was a casino.
It was a smart man's casino. Did you ever hit a big trade at like right when the market opens? You know, you take 10K and leave for the day at like 10 o'clock, or were you there all day just grinding?
I would usually grind all day. There was a lot of people that would do that, which left for so many more opportunities. So I didn't. I barely ever did that. I did that once in a while, especially when I was trying to recoup after a big loss. So if I did take a big loss where I lost 30 grand and usually majority of my money that I had in my account, I would slowly start taking winners and leaving to build my account back up.
Got it. Okay. And then real quickly for the cameras, you got to give us, what are the meanings? Give us 3 signs that you would do in the pit and what they meant.
Okay. So if you're selling, your hand wants to be this way.
So you would.
So this right here, selling. I have big hands. This right here is 50. Okay. And if I'm buying, this is 50.
Okay.
Okay. And that's a 50. This is 70. This is 7. This is selling at 7. And that's, I mean, options are different. I never trade. I trade a little options now, but
sure.
Not the way they trade them in the pit. There was definitely more signals for that. But as far as I worked, it was buy, sell.
Got it. Would you recommend anybody that's listening to this that now has an interest to get into the trading game?
To try to like trade the market, it's very, very difficult, and you really have to do your research and know people who could teach you. And I don't even know if it could necessarily. I think you could day trade, but I don't know too many. I knew a lot of big traders, a lot of successful traders.
Yeah.
I don't know one of them that could still day trade and make money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Would you ever get back into it? Like some of those years when you're 19, 20, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, would you ever think about getting back into it or no?
Well, I mean, the reason I left is because I went on a bad run and ended up losing all my money, and I just got so burnt out from it. I would like, I trade now, I trade some small options, and I trade in the stock market. But really just invest. I buy. I'm not like shorting the market. And crypto, I'm in now.
Joe, you are a wild man. These are things I didn't know. You hit rock bottom at 0. What do you do next? Is that when you got in the grocery business?
That's when I got in the grocery business. That's when my dad looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, I don't know. I'll figure it out. And he said, "You'll figure it out. Be up at 3 a.m. You're coming to work with me."
And that's what your dad did. He was he was in the produce.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I'm glad. You know what? It sucked. It sucked because I went from making. I think my last year as a trader, I think I made like 360 grand before I lost all my money, and then I started working, making like $400 a week, working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. It was brutal.
Like mentally, did that take that had to take a toll.
It took a toll. And at the time, I remember I was 24 and felt like it was over for me.
Yeah.
Didn't realize how young I actually was at that time.
Yeah.
But being that young is also what saved me.
Just being that resilient.
Yeah, and you realize like I'm
24.
yeah,
My whole
still got
life
my
ahead
whole
of me.
life. Yeah,
And think about the lessons you just learned.
yeah.
Crazy. What a wild roller coaster. Let's end the trading conversation with this. Your two biggest plays right now, because I know me and Joe, I have a little inside information. I know he's a trader. I know he's investing. What are your two biggest plays right now and why?
Well, do I have to put the disclaimer that this is not financial?
Let's do. Yeah, this is not a financial advice. Joe is not telling you to go buy this. This is strictly Joe just saying these are the companies he invests in. You don't have to follow it, but if you want to, feel free. It's on your dime.
Yeah, I guess this is not financial advice, and I'm down a lot. But I'm not in that much. I'm in Bitcoin. I'm in Sandbox, which is the metaverse. I do believe
That's the real estate metaverse.
Yeah,
It's like okay.
yeah, you could buy property in the Sandbox, and I like DraftKings a lot.
I've taken a bath on DraftKings.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
I will share with you guys in the recap to the penny how much money I've lost in DraftKings.
You know, I like the gambling ones. I like Penn. I like DraftKings. I like.
Why? Because I'm thinking downturn, recession, less capital to be spending in it, or do you think they'll eventually just take over a market which hasn't even been measured yet?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Sports gambling's massive.
It's massive. It's
I just think sports gambling's so big. What else? I like CRISPR. I like Teladoc. But those are all definitely more risky plays, long-term plays. So I don't know. But that's how I invest. I am definitely on the very risky side of things.
I love it. All right, let's fast forward a little bit from your trading days, your grocery store days, your rock bottom, your selling days. You hit reality TV, and then you build this massive, massive platform. And so you have well over 1 million followers, and you now have your brand. Tell me a little bit about how you started the brand and why you started the brand, Sundays with Joe.
Yeah, the Sundays with Joe I started mid-pandemic because, you know, after my first run on the shows and Dancing with the Stars, the Dancing with the Stars tour, I was living in LA. Didn't really know what to do with any of it because it was all. I don't think any of us like really knew because it was all still very new.
Kind of in 2018, we were still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was still new, and I was like, okay, well, I'm in this world now. And once I went on dancing, I basically, you know, walked away from.
You shut it down. You shut all your ads down.
What do you mean?
I remember when you went on Dancing with the Stars, because you and I would talk a lot about like this whole social media thing and monetization. You didn't really do many ads when you went on Dancing with the Stars.
I didn't do many ads. I felt like I was selling out.
Yeah.
And selling out to the people that were following me, which.
Do you still feel like that?
I don't feel like that now because anything that I promote, I use or I'm like, this is a cool company. I like this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to post an ad for something that I would never use.
Yeah.
You know, or something that I or I think it's like will harm you or bad for you.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of regret that.
Yeah.
Because I probably let a lot of money go.
Yeah.
Which wasn't, I don't know. I kind of regret it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Where were we?
But Dancing with the Stars, of all the shows, Dancing with the Stars, I don't want to get into specifics or have contract issues. You make enough on the tour and in the show that you don't earning other additional income. You're not focused on that.
You're not focused on it, but you should prep for the downtime because the initial question was
the Sundays with Joe
about the sauce. And yeah, I had left LA out of my relationship, living in Chicago, moved there thinking maybe I'll open up a pizza place.
Okay.
It was kind of the idea, or a beef stand.
Okay.
Pandemic hit. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. One thing I was comfortable with now and enjoying was like hosting and being in front of the camera. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if this is ever going to work, but let me start messing around doing food videos. It's what I like.
Yeah.
I know the restaurant industry. I love going to restaurants. Let me just have fun with this. As I was doing it, I'm like, how am I going to monetize? How am I going to make money?
Yeah.
My partner in Sundays with Joe owns a big distribution company in Chicago, distributes to all around the country. And we were talking, and he's like, I like your videos. Why don't we figure something out?
Cool.
And then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to grow on YouTube or not. I think it's going to take a very long time. Kind of came.
YouTube is so hard.
So hard.
It's the hardest.
We came across. I was like, well, what about a product? And we worked out this sauce. I had a recipe, workshopped it a little bit. Obviously, these things have to be manufactured and
Totally.
But it's all like it's cooked in it's kettle cooked and
yeah. So you get the deal, how much did you have to invest in a company like this to start it? Like someone says they have the best sauce out there, or they have the best product. What do you have to look at to invest and like create something like this? Get it going.
It depends. It depends on how you're getting it done. It could cost anywhere from I would say minimum 10 grand to who knows. I mean, depending on how you're doing it, really. I mean, it could cost, if you're doing everything yourself, it could cost in the hundreds of thousands.
So from idea generation to getting this right here and us tasting it, how long does that take? 6 months, 3 months, a year?
That took us idea to I think that took us 4 months.
4 months.
Which is pretty quick.
Okay, so someone out there, you want to get something into a can or some sort. You got a recipe, 4 months, minimum of 10 grand. You're thinking you have to have some type of distributor relationship or manufacturer, right?
Yeah.
And that came through the guy that you partnered with,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So you cannot do this unless you're tied in with a manufacturer. One tip, if someone back home thinks they have an idea, they want to do it, they have the 10 grand. One tip for someone to get connected with a manufacturer, what would it be?
I don't know, because I had the relationship, so I wouldn't answer that, and I wouldn't know how to answer that. I would say if you're looking, probably LinkedIn.
Yeah, like literally type in like manufacturing reps, managers.
Yeah.
Get connected with someone. Then how your product's made. You got a ton of these. How do you get them on the shelves of supermarkets?
That's. And I'm going through that now. We just got into a bigger chain in Chicago. If you follow me, you've seen it on my page, but Mariano's we're in now. You have to get a meeting. You have to, show your product. They have to taste your product. And then you kind of have to give them a reason. Tank. Yeah, a reason it is, and a reason why it's going to move. I'm lucky enough to have a social platform, thankfully from the show. So stores see that and like, okay, well, we have I think stores have now realized they have to embrace social media because it's the new way of marketing.
Yeah, it's influencing.
So because of that, like having that platform helps immensely.
Got it. So you got to have a good product. You got to get with the right buyers. The buyers taste it. Then they like your product. How does it work when your product is on a grocery store shelf? Do they buy it all up front? Do you get paid per unit that sells? Like, how does that whole business work?
Yeah. So it depends on the chain and how the store wants to do it. But yeah, they could usually. Smaller stores may do on credit, whatever. But like bigger stores, they'll pay up front.
Okay.
And they will, depending on like if you're on their local rack, if you're on the shelves, if they're doing end caps. So like an end cap is where you want to be in a grocery store.
Okay. Yeah.
That's because that's what people see. They walk past it. It's the front of the aisle.
Do you have to pay to get the end cap position? or do you have to like sell them on why it should be on the end cap?
Yeah, you have to sell them on why you.
Got it.
If you're paying under the table for that, I don't know if that happens,
Okay.
but that wouldn't be ethical.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, if you depending on like how you're going to promote it on your end, like so for me, I'm going to Chicago in a few weeks, going to the Marianos, and we're in a store called Woodman's. Now Woodman's is going to give us end caps, and they are really promoting it. So I'm going to the stores. I'm going to demo the sauce myself.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to promote it.
I love it. And what does it sell for?
That depending on the stores. Right now, we're selling online 2 for. I should fucking know this because I actually put those. Those go for 2 for $17.99.
And what's the website? Where can like someone wants to try your sauce right now? What website?
Sundayswithjoe.com.
Sundayswithjoe.com. 2 for how much? 2 6. How much you say?
$17.99.
$17.99. I love it. And you said it's kettle cooked. What does that mean?
It just it's cooked in like a kettle,
so it's not in like a big like manufacturing plant pot. It's like legitimate.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. And what's the plan? So you got Sundays with Joe. Do you have like a goal of how many units you want to sell, or like do you want to end up selling this or starting a company? Like what's the plan with the sauce?
My plan is I want rebuys in the stores that we're in. I want to prove that we are selling in the stores that we are currently in, and to just keep expanding from store to store to store, and not really focus on, it's not right now for me. It's not about like, how much money are we making? What are we making? Are we making money? It's really just about growing it and getting into as many stores as possible.
That is awesome. All right. So you got the food, you got the sauce, you had trading. You now have this other aspect of your income and potential career plan, which is like this media entertainment space. So you're on all those shows, you do the tour. What's your, and this is such a conversation all of us have after the show. It's like, where do you take it next? Like, do you still want to do hosting? I know, do you ever think about acting? Do you ever consider, you have this podcast now. Do you want to continue doing the podcast? Like, what's your take on your career development within this like media and entertainment space?
Well, if you're listening and you saw my Maybelline commercial, you
would know.
You would know that
this is fucking
I'm an actor.
Clooney 2.0. Look it up.
I definitely have chops.
What was your line there? You had like one line, right? What was it?
Ready, babe.
Ready, babe. You
Yeah,
killed it, too.
I did.
It was like Matthew McConaughey smooth.
I would love to. I've been hosting Clickbait, a Bachelor Nation podcast for, I think we're going on over 2 years now. But I would love to stay in like that hosting space. Definitely the food world. And yeah, I mean that's what I'm gonna try to keep pushing and get into that space as much as I could.
Best part and worst part about podcasting?
Best part about podcasting is I enjoy talking. And then worst part is I realize I enjoy talking too much.
Okay.
Worst part, we podcast over Zoom, which is how we have to do it because we're all in different places in the world.
Yeah.
But there is something about talking to somebody in person, which makes it just
a little better than the Zoom stuff.
Yeah, just a little smoother.
So it's 2018, 5 years later, still connected to the franchise. Do you foresee yourself continuing to wanting to be like more part of it, like be on other shows with Bachelor? Like, will you do another show? Like, do you have a outlook for that, or you just like, we'll see what happens type thing?
Yeah, like I have a great relationship with the show.
Yeah.
And I think we're both on the same page where it's like, hey, don't bite the hand that fed you.
Hell yeah.
Like this,
totally.
people know us from the Bachelor franchise.
That's it.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there was more opportunities within the show. Sure, I would 100% at least consider them.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that would ever just be like, there's a lot of people from our world that's just like, I'm done with the show.
Yeah.
Which, hey, if you want to be done with the show,
be done.
whatever,
Yeah.
be done with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would always be open to different opportunities.
That's awesome. That's a wild track you got. Do you feel that you gravitate towards one thing or the other? Like, do you feel like the food and sauce thing is really your passion, and then, you know, the podcasting and, you know, media stuff, you're there for it? Or do you like, where does your passion lie if you like analyze it?
My passion is, I would say, in the food space, but I do really enjoy, I really do enjoy being in front of the camera. I've come to really like it.
Yeah.
And podcasting and hosting, like I enjoy this stuff. I have a lot of fun doing this.
I think you marry the two. If you could do some type of like hosting for food stuff, you already did on YouTube, you crushed it. I think you'd be a natural at that.
Yeah. And I have,
do you like talk to agents?
I signed with an agency not too long ago. I have a really good manager, so I'm trying to figure things out.
All right. Let's play a little game here. We'll do like, I'm curious where you can make more money. Could you make more money trading in the pit or with your social media?
Like back then or now?
Yeah, like back then.
Well,
back then in the heyday versus like your heyday now in social media.
Heyday trading in the markets.
Like
not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Do you think the social media monetization at the rate it's at now, like in 3-5 years, do you think it'll remain the same? Like, what's your take on that?
I don't know, you know, because we look at like how many people watch the NBA finals, and then you look at certain influencers and see the numbers they get on a reel.
It's crazy.
And they're the same.
Isn't it
so
nuts?
I don't know. I think it's actually probably just going to keep growing.
Interesting. Do you put any time into like TikTok or YouTube or the other ones, or you mostly focus on Instagram?
Well, my biggest following is Instagram, but I tweet and I do TikToks once in a while. TikTok is just, I don't know. I don't really care that as much.
Gotcha.
I don't really, you know, I just kind of always try to stay true to who I am on all social media sites. So that comes with me like, if I feel like doing something in the moment, I'll do it.
I love it. Okay, there you go. All right, Joe, next step, what type of, when are you going to those stores that people can come see you and buy your sauce?
Yes, I will be in Chicago going to Woodman's and Mariano's, to all the different stores. I think I get in September 15th through like the 21st.
Okay, there you go. Go check it out. We had Jill Zarin on from Real Housewives. She has a big rug collection. There was a TJ Maxx buyer out there listening, and they're working on getting all her rugs in TJ Maxx. So if you guys out there, anybody know any grocery owners that are in the buying division, reach out to Joe. Let's get Sundays with Joe on every single shelf. Joe, 5 years from now, what's it looking like? What are you doing? What is your main career? When we've podcast in 5 years from now, I sit down, Joe is crushing it in what? Take a shot.
On my own food show.
Got his own food show. Put it out there, baby. Let's go. All right, we got to end with a trading secret. So a trading secret is career advice, money advice. Sounds like you've gone through a lot of that. Life advice, a trading secret you can't get in a textbook, you can't Google, you can't read in a book, only from Joe. Grocery store Joe, you got to leave us with a trading secret. What would it be?
Embrace your uncomfortable moments. That's where you learn the most.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good words of advice. Philosophical, deep. Would you say your most uncomfortable moment was at 24 when you lost every dollar?
Yeah, that sucked. That was that. I wouldn't consider that uncomfortable. That was just a not rock bottom, but just like a low. When I say uncomfortable, I mean like Bachelor first night uncomfortable.
Last question before we wrap up. Bachelor in Paradise, Dancing with the Stars, which, in correlation with your trading secret, which was the most uncomfortable and why?
The Bachelorette, the night
by a long shot.
Yeah.
Well, I remember you saying.
Oh, actually, no.
Dancing with the Stars.
Actually, no. Yeah, no. Dancing with the Stars.
Like the pressure of it.
The pressure of dancing on stage, especially the first dance. I mean, it never really got easier for me, but the first night was the most uncomfortable, hardest thing I ever did.
Ever in your life?
Yeah.
The first night Dance with Stars. And I remember when you told me that, I was like, dude, just have a couple shots. And there was like a few weeks later, you're like, I tried that. It doesn't work.
No.
Shots don't solve those nerves.
I was too nervous.
Yeah, but wouldn't the shots help that? Take a couple shots. But then you forget your dance routine.
Yeah, the shots, I mean, when you're nervous, you're nervous. And it was just so, it's so intense.
Yeah, I mean, one foot placement, it's a lot. I don't know if I could deal with it. Well, Joe, you've had an unbelievable career track. It's been so much fun to watch from a distance and see everything you're doing and even learn things about you I had no idea about today. So thank you for being here with us. Where can people find everything? Promote the podcast, the sauce. Where can people find all the things you have going on?
Yeah, sauce is sundayswithjoe.com, or in a bunch of stores in the Chicago land area. We're with GoPuff too in Chicago if you want to get it delivered. Social media, Joe Amabile 1 on Instagram, Amabile Joe on Twitter. Podcast Clickbait with BN, or Clickbait BN on Instagram. Yeah.
I love it. I could have asked you a million more questions, but we've taken up enough time. Joe, thank you so much for being here. We are going to we're going to buy 10 bottles of the sauce and give them away. So go put your review, give us 5 stars, let us know what you thought, what other guests you'd like us to have, and put your Instagram handle. 10 of you guys are going to get Sundays with Joe sauce, and I'm going to spicy marinara because that is my favorite. Joe, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Of course. Thanks for having me.